I'm like, should that affect? I mean, whatever decisions we decide to make as Nigerians, it should happen irrespective of Ghana did it worked or Ghana did it backfired.
Well, one way or the other, if we see how Abraham Grant's performances go, and in terms of the technical quality of the team, it probably would spill over to Nigeria, probably. I'm thinking between the ox and the horse and the cart, which one is more important in this case? Between Ghana and South Africa, which one is more important? Because we see that South Africa has risen on the global ranking. They've risen to 51 in table. They're about 9 points behind, behind Nigeria, who stands at 42. And I feel that Nigeria has South Africa rather. Bafana have Sheikh Mashaba, who is an indigenous coach, and he's done well with homebred players, largely homebred players, and that is very important.
To support you, the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola, was here, and he pointed out that most of the countries that seem to do well have players based in the country playing in the league. So, I mean,
even for countries, for instance, like Cote d'Ivoire, who actually have largely most of their players outside the country, you find that majority of the players are actually within a certain league.
And it helps.
And it actually helps. So there's that understanding of the philosophy and the structure. Unfortunately for Cote d'Ivoire, they still not won any major laurel.
Okay. All right. The argument will go on and on, but hopefully the NFF will get it right with Nigerian football, not just the Super Eagles, like the guys have pointed out. Let's go to the continent now and talk about the big one for this weekend, and that's the CAF Confederations Cup. I mean, it's always important for us to look at teams who do well in this competition, because who knows, they might just do well in the CAF Champions League, because you look at who won last year's edition, they're now the CAF Champions League winners, and by extension who represent Africa in the FIFA Club World Cup. So let's have a look. The Ivorian team, Seoul Sports, will be taking on Al Ahly. Al Ahly have won the CAF Champions League 8 times. Some people will say this is a step down, but of course they will want to restore Egyptian pride. I don't know if Tonte agrees with me that they would. I mean, there's something at stake for them in this one.
Most definitely, there's a lot at stake for Al Ahly, because given the fact that we just reeled out their record, 8 times champions of the 8 times winners of the Champions League, CAF Champions League. Now, yes, even if some people look at it as Confederation Cup as being a step down. However, it is still going to be on their shelf, and it's going to speak for them in years to come.
Counts.
So it counts strongly for them in their favor. However, going against Seoul Sport is at home. The Ivorian side, they've become prominent on the continent. Al Ahly definitely would not want to take chances against them, but at the same time they will also be ambitious to want to get a win.
Well, I don't know if Telema agrees with.
One thing that actually comes to mind is the fact that a good number of players within the Al Ahly setting actually form a base of players within the national team. So there's a lot to actually play for. There's a lot of pride to actually at stake here for Al Ahly. Definitely going away, they would not want to actually consider Seoul Sport as pushovers. But then there's honor for them to actually go all the way and all out to restore that as in for their stake. So it looks all good for Al Ahly on the road or at home. All
right. Well, guys, we're pressed for time, but let me throw this quick one at you guys. Maybe a 5-second response. The Club World Cup, should we expect anything special from the African representatives? Know that we have a Ton Setif, and the other Moroccan club, by virtue of being host, will be there. So this time, do you see an African? TP Mazembe, well, got to the final some time ago. Inter demolished them in the final. But do you see Ton Setif, doing Africa proud in this one?
It's going to be a tough one, really, because they're going against good sides, especially teams like Real Madrid, and that is going to. Real Madrid is good. But don't underrate Ton Setif. Nevertheless, it's going to be a difficult one for them, really, playing against the international side, because this is about their in a long time. This is about their first time, participating in the Club World Cup, and it's going to be new ground for them. However, they will be close to home, given the fact that they will be playing Morocco, and
let's quickly look at your English Premier League, the fixtures. I know you guys, we talked about it before we came on, but West Ham will take on Newcastle, Sunderland will take on Chelsea, Southampton will take on Manchester City, Tottenham will take on Everton. These are the fixtures as well. West Brom take on Arsenal, Burnley take on Aston Villa, Liverpool take on Stoke, Manchester United take on Hull City, Queen's Park Rangers take on Leicester, and Swansea take on Crystal Palace. Guys, one apiece. Which of these games do you think is worth looking out for?
West Ham Newcastle.
Okay.
Is actually worth looking out for. Some other guys actually came out and said that the flair, the performances that West Ham actually have put over time seems to have actually deserted them.
Okay.
And coming against Newcastle, a resurgent Newcastle under Alan Pardew definitely is one mouth-watering game to actually look out for. It's going to be a very gritty match, no doubt. Okay. As in, both sides are actually quite physical, but Newcastle look set to actually edge it over West Ham.
All right, Antonte, any of these matches you feel? I mean, you talked about Southampton the other time.
Southampton will be at home against Manchester City. Last season, it was really bumpy for Manchester City against Southampton. Southampton showed that they were not pushovers. Okay. Yes, and they showed the fact that they deserve to be in the top 10, and they ended up in that spot. Now they're still within the top 10 early in the season. Nevertheless, it's still early. But going against their performance so far has been they're second on the table, ahead of Manchester City. So it shows that going against Manchester City should not underrate them. Nevertheless, they should also Southampton on their own part should be careful. Yeah. Because so what they did against what happened against Aston Villa, they were quite fortunate to have gotten a point against them.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's look at some selected. Nothing really jumps at you in Europe this weekend, but we've put this together for you. I'm going to run through this quickly. Just pick out the games involving the big teams, teams that will likely decide where the title goes in the various leagues that they play in. Paris Saint-Germain will take on Nice, Hertha Berlin take on Bayern. In the Italian Serie A, Roma against Inter. I mean, that qualifies as a big one. Milan and Udinese as well. In Spain, it's Valencia and Barcelona. And of course, also, it's going to be Malaga and Real Madrid. These are some of the big games to be played in Europe this weekend. Some of these matches you could look forward to it, and of course you might get surprises. Some of those ones you think looks one-sided. Okay, let's move on to this disturbing one. Bastia striker, that's Brandao, is in the news, but not for good reasons. We've seen players do what he did, Gattuso the other time, a lot of players at booting, but I don't know, is there, let me quickly go to Tonte. A lot of issues involved in this one. He's going to go into community service. He's been jailed for 1 month, but of course that 1 month is been fined as well. But all of those are not a problem for me. I'm going to ask you if you think there's an obsession with PSG, because this time it was him and Thiago Motta. The other time it was the same guy and Yohan Cabaye. So I'm looking at it. Does he have an obsession with Paris Saint-Germain player, or is just an hothead?
I think it's possibly that he's hot-headed. But on the flip side, on the other side, you look at people like Cabaye is also hot-headed. Yeah. Thiago Motta, not too much history about him, but he possibly could be a hot-headed individual too. So you couldn't just, even though he is the victim in this case, given the fact that he's been sentenced to a 1 month in jail. Nevertheless, he probably has personal issues with this individual, or maybe the entire team. But I think it's. If it had happened, my question is, if it had happened on the field of play, if he had assaulted or had booted Motta on the pitch, if he would have been given this same punishment would have applied to him.
I don't know, do you think his weakness was exploited? For instance, if I was playing against Joey Barton, Mario Balotelli, I'll probably get in their face because I know they'll react and get into trouble. Do you think something like that happened in this case?
I think for a player who actually waited, took his time to wait for Motta to come in through the tunnel, definitely, I consider it actually a deserved one, and it's actually about time we start making players realize that there are certain behaviors, whether on or off the pitch, that will not be tolerated.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's talking about Brandao. And let's really talk about, I don't know how to describe this man. I grew up watching his tapes, even though it was in black and white. And I hope we're not going to say bye-bye to him yet. I'm talking about Brazil's greatest ever player. Talking about Pelé, 74-year-old, 3-time World Cup winner. He's saying a big thank you to his fans. He's been having a lot of issues recently with illness, and the latest one is an urinary infection.
Yeah.
But he's saying, look, guys, I'm okay. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And I think we should send him our well wishes. I hope he gets better soon, because I think it's too early for him to go.
It's a symbol.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of football, not just in Brazil, but across the world. We saw that the fact that at the opening of the Akwa Ibom International Stadium, he was supposed to be a special guest at the event. So that is a lot
always
about
associated with
his
Africa.
person. Exactly. So we wish him well, and we hope that he recovers quickly. And to be
tell him my son will say 74. You are old enough. But then again, we're talking about Pelé here.
Nobody's too young, nobody's too old.
Okay, that's how we have to wrap things up on sports this morning. We hope that we've enjoyed everything we've been able to do. You can join us again later tonight when we have more time on our hands to take you on a trip across the world of sports. On behalf of everybody here, and especially the guys behind the scenes, pulling the switches and pressing the buttons for us, so you can enjoy this program. On behalf of all of them and me here, it's bye-bye.